First of all, thank you for taking the time to talk, Matt. You, for the first 3 episodes of WandaVision that I've seen, are doing a bang-up job. It is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Of course. Listen, so we're Comicbook.com, so I've got to start at the heart of this show, which is comics, of course. And so these are 3 books that I feel are probably pretty influential. The Steve Englehart, Vision and Scarlet Witch, House of M. We saw the Easter egg in the trailer, and this Tom King Vision book. I would like to hear from you. What comics can you say were the most influential in this story?
All of them, and ones you didn't mention. I think the thing that's so great about the MCU is they are building on everything that's come before and making something wholly new and original. And much like each one of those comics that you held up there, those artists and writers took what had come before and fashioned something new. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it feels like an amalgamation of all the best parts of a lot of books plus some original spins, and I love that. I love the Glamour and Illusion reference, too, where we don't see those characters, but we see them as kind of take on that persona, which was super fun. Just talk to me about that episode where they kind of get out there and put on, like, the show for everybody.
It was an absolute joy to film. It took days and days, and I think Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen are brilliant in it. And I think Paul Bettany does a brilliant job channeling his inner Dudley Moore brilliantly. It was one of our most complicated sort of sections to film, especially because, these shows, when we were in the 50s and 60s, we were referencing Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, and we wanted to use technology that was appropriate to the time whenever possible. So wires and things on rods and the old-fashioned way as much as possible, because there's just a charm to that. And I think it's part of our goal of being authentic to these reference points that we have. But I think it also it adds its own kind of magic, especially in contrast to the full MCU stuff that is also in the show.
Absolutely. I mean, in just trying to describe to people who haven't seen it, it's such a bold swing in how different it is and how committed it is to this different structure, and it works so well. And you can tell you guys put every bit of thought both in front of the camera and behind the camera to bringing that to life, and I love that. I heard there's a lot of different kind of homages coming, and when we get to more modern era too. And one that I'm particularly looking forward to is The Office. I heard there's some kind of office sitcom themes. Are we going to see characters talk straight into the camera at any point?
Possibly. I don't know. You're going to have to hang on and watch.
I hope so. I just want to see them all stressed out and just kind of complaining about each other. I think that'll be hilarious. Okay, and I also want to talk about these mysteries, because the show really slowly unravels some really cool threads. And I know you can't say too much, but like one specifically, we saw this in the trailer, so I'm not really giving anything away. The beekeeper and the sword suit. And that's just part of kind of this mystery that starts unraveling. And you also, in moments where you unravel that mystery, made very clear, distinctly different directorial choices. And I'm curious, like, what kind of went into that? What went into emphasizing the contrast?
The whole show has a great deal of exploration of form and style, obviously within the sitcom, but in terms of real world stuff as well. We are a blend of classic sitcom and big Marvel action, so you are heading towards that MCU world, of course. And so we played around a lot with form and style, and you'll see it in future episodes even more than you've probably seen it thus far.
Which era of sitcom was the most challenging to, like, whether it was from scripting or acting or to the technical aspects, like camera type, to bring to life most accurately?
They were all challenging. They were all fun. We shot the first one in front of a live studio audience, so that was its own thing, because it's just the chaos of a live show. It was the first thing that we did, and I come from theater. A lot of the actors have done a lot of theater, so it felt like putting on a play. We rehearsed it for a few days beforehand, got it ready like a tight little show, ready to perform, and the crew dressed up in period clothes, and it felt very much like a time capsule, and we went back in time and did this show like they would have done it in the 50s. And it was great because, you have all those nerves and all that adrenaline of, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and do this sitcom in front of all these people, the first Marvel live audience taping. But it's brilliant for that reason, because the adrenaline, the spark, the energy, the lightning in a bottle, it's special for that reason. You can see it in the I Love Lucy shows. You can see it in Dick Van Dyke Show. And we had lunch with Dick Van Dyke, and he told us these amazing stories about the episodes that you watch of the Dick Van Dyke Show they only use the live taping of the show. They didn't pre-tape it and do pickups later. Like, that's it. It's like a theater piece. They did it once. So that the laughter changes the rhythm of it. Some things are way funnier than they realize, that bits go on longer just because they're enjoying it. Like, that is part of those shows. And I wanted to make sure that we captured that as well. But then you go into shows like Bewitched, where, they're shooting in more traditional four-wall sets. They're single camera, almost like a film. They're doing all these complicated things on wires. And, we wanted to make sure that that's how we were doing that era as well. And so, that would change the approach.
It comes through really nicely. And there's a good amount of Easter eggs. I love Marvel fans. We love, picking up the connections, picking up a reference. When you see like a Bova reference, you see kind of just MCU ties in those little commercials, which are really fun. So I have a feeling that by the time we're through 9 episodes, some of those Easter eggs and even some of the dialogue, I feel like a lot of it is written in a way that we could look back at it, and there's a lot of setup or teases of what's coming. Is that true? You think there's Easter eggs and stuff like that early on that the end will kind of will change our perspective, or we'll look at these moments through a different lens?
I think it's important for every successful movie or TV show to feel when you get to the end that the ending is incredibly surprising, but also totally inevitable. And if you don't do that, I don't think you've told your story well. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. That when you get to the end, you're like, wow, but then you go, ah.
You're really good at this, because I know you can't say too much, but you're giving us great answers that I genuinely appreciate that. So thank you. Sure. Okay. And so because this is a Disney Plus show, and the only other kind of big live action show that in this vein that people compare things to is The Mandalorian so far. Yeah. And of course, The Mandalorian's first episode had the big Baby Yoda moment. And I feel like with how this show is going into Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange and the multiverse and all the rumors we've heard, there could be kind of that moment, whether it's opening a door to another universe, or I don't know if it's a character or a death or any. Do you think there is like that level of moment or that kind of shock anywhere along the way that you think that's going to be a moment that just generates that buzz?
Oh gosh, who could predict such a thing? I mean, the Baby Yoda reveal was so amazing. I loved that as a viewer. I was so excited about it. And then the recent Luke reveal at the end of season 2, incredible. I mean, those guys have done a brilliant job. Hats off to them for sure. But no, I would never be so bold as to say that we had a Baby Yoda moment. But we certainly, we're trying to tell a story that is about these two amazing characters, these characters that have made an indelible impression despite having relatively little screen time over the last 4 or 5 films, when you're competing in these Avengers movies for attention with all these different characters and all these different storylines. The fact that Vision and Wanda have been such a powerful, duo, and I think people are very taken. I am certainly with their love story, and that we're able to tell this amazing story, this romance over 9 episodes, but also an adventure story, a mystery, a thriller, and a comedy. It's going to all these different places. So whether you have one Baby Yoda moment, or a bunch smaller Baby Yoda moments, the ultimate thing for me as a storyteller is that the cumulative power of these 9 episodes is a really satisfying journey, and that people will be pulled in from beginning to end. And
I can't wait to see what you guys do. So my last thing then, because as this goes on, it's the MCU. It's a big puzzle. It's all connected. Feige recently said it's going to go to Spider-Man 3 as well as Doctor Strange. Did that call for a level of collaboration with John Watts and Sam Raimi? Like, have you guys had to have conversation like, okay, well, we're kind of doing this thing. You guys like, is that like a constant line of communication that you all just have to have in this like kind of world of this franchise?
Yeah, there is conversation among filmmakers, which I think is great. I mean, we are all part of this interconnected universe. I admire the heck out of everybody who's worked in Marvel before and are working on Marvel things right now. It's not just the movies; it's also the other Disney Plus shows that we're interacting with. Even if it's not about formal overlap, we're working next door to each other. What are you guys doing? Oh, that's so exciting. It's an amazing place to be. But yeah, definitely, we've all had conversations about the work that we're doing now, because it's a relay race, this whole thing, and so you're passing the baton from one group of filmmakers to another, and you want to make sure that handoff is effortless and perfect, right?
Oh, to be a fly on the wall for those conversations. Listen, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. Congratulations. I can't wait for the world to see WandaVision. I personally can't wait to see more of it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.